Good evening, Light Warriors. This is going to be a really good hour. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with the energies. So, thank you all for being here. My name is Carlie. Welcome to my channel. It's Consciousness with Carlie. Tonight, we're going to have Krystina on. She is the quantum healing coach. It's going to be fantastic. We're really going to get some insight on what's going on energetically with our bodies, mental health, emotional health. I've had symptoms that I haven't had in like a really long time. So it's been pretty wild. I'm pretty excited about it. And I definitely want you guys to be typing your symptoms, what you're feeling, what you're going through. So go ahead and feel free to do that. Let's get Krystina on here. I just have to figure out how to add you real quick. And my dogs are barking, sorry. Quantum. Anxiety is horrible. I've been feeling that all day. There's been a lot of symptoms. We're going to talk a lot tonight about this. So let's put it up here.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Good. Can you hear me okay? And oh, I don't have a microphone, but and I'm not usually on live, so if I'm a little
Yeah.
nervous, that's why.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, can you hear me? I just started using a microphone with Instagram Live. Does it
Yeah,
sound
you
like I'm
sound
using?
amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because
Yeah.
usually Instagram Lives, the quality is horrible. So we just try and do our best to make it sound and look good, you know?
Yeah, no, you sound amazing.
Hey, thank you. No, you're great. So I'm excited about this. What do you want to start with? I figured you might as well introduce yourself and the Schumann resonance, what that is, what got you involved with that type of stuff first, and then we can go into, the symptoms and what's going on. So,
Okay. Yeah, so just for everybody who's watching, the Schumann resonance is the heartbeat of Mother Gaia, and our brains, our nervous system basically is in sync with it. What got me into it, my own anxiety. Last year, 2022 and 2023 were hell for me, to be quite honest. And I was always into corrective exercise. That was my focus, was working with people on an empathic level, helping them to heal and clear shadows. And I discovered in my work years ago that I couldn't get anybody to heal if we couldn't get to the emotional root cause of the problem. And this was, of course, before 2020. So then 2020 happened, and I think a lot of us woke up in 2020, and I started going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And I think because of my background with the human body, I just naturally gravitated towards learning about, particles and atoms and trying to understand what this whole vibration thing was, because I would always hear people say, hey, raise your vibration, raise your vibration. I'm like, what? That's got to mean more than just be happy. So I really wanted to better understand all of that. And that's what led me to my own practice, which is the quantum healing coach. I help people release a lot of the deep shadow work, that's the emotions, the energies that are trapped in the physical structure, as well as the energy body, so that they can heal, so that they can manifest the life that they want, so that their bodies can heal. And so I started offering energy reports, and that's kind of how I got known, I guess you could say. So now I offer those as well. But I still offer, my practice is open too, where I help people to heal from their trauma. And I've seen some pretty insane things. Not really insane, but considering what we've learned with the demons in the world and all of that, when we really get into deep trauma work, you really get to see the underbelly of this world and what's really happening. So
yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. I know some people that do intense healing work as well, and they talk about how some of the energy they pull out of people is repulsive, like they're puking. They can smell the rancid. It's intense, that type of stuff that you witness on an energetic level with
yeah,
your human senses.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, everything I do is over Zoom. But what I've seen is, and I think a lot of us are aware that sexual sexual predators are one of the biggest issues, right? Because that lowers everybody's frequency to shame. And what we find interesting, or I find interesting, is that when we get to a point where we're doing a soul retrieval for somebody, and they're finally remembering what happened to them in that moment, what they're able to see in the perpetrator, the person who's harming them, is there's an actual demon behind those eyes. So what I've found is there's actual these the reptilians, all that, the demons have infiltrated specific family lines generations ago to target light workers as they were children before they even had a chance to really harness anything. So, and then we get to see the shadows leave the body and then do the work in the astral.
Wow. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
So with this energy that's going on with the Schumann resonance, can you explain like what that is for somebody on a basic level? If you were just telling somebody what that is, what would you say
Yeah,
in your words?
it's the heartbeat of Mother Gaia, and it's kind of, I mean, the heartbeat is, whether we realize it or not, our brains are always in sync with this. It's kind of like a boom, boom noise, right? And it's at the hertz frequency of 7.83. It's at 7.83. And it's our brain functions with Mother Gaia. So whether we realize it or not, we're always in sync with Mother Gaia. I think the best way to really explain it is, when we see movies, especially when we were kids, and that they would show where the animals that were all scattering before the humans knew what was happening, because the animals are so in sync with Mother Gaia. They know what's coming. Like usually my dog starts pacing around the apartment, and then I realize, oh, something's going on. I better go check the energy reports. And then that's when I usually find out what's going on with the Schumann residents or the flares or whatever, because they pick it up before we do. So it's everything. The Schumann resonance is basically the heartbeat of all of us together, whether we realize it or not. And we can affect the Schumann resonance. Like if there's a large city of people, and that's the Schumann residence will be slightly shifted in that area, or those people will kind of get into their own sync. So it's kind of why when you're in certain areas, you feel like the energy is a specific way or not. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Totally. I really appreciate you explaining it the way that you did.
Yeah.
What do you have behind you there?
Well, because when I get on camera, I get like nervous. My mind can go blank. So I took some notes before I hopped on here.
I love it.
Because I want to make sure that people know how to help themselves, right? Because we got the solar flares and we got the Schumann resonance, and 2024 is going to be a big, big year. And I don't know if anybody who doesn't know, our sun goes through cyclical cycles, just like we do. Everything on Earth, within us, micro to macro, macro to micro, all of it. It's all cyclical. Nature is cyclical. As women, especially, we know that, right? But it's important to realize that we're in the end of an 11 or 12-year cycle, depending on which calendar you want to look at, the right one or the one that's made up. And so if you look back to, was about 2014 and 15, 13, 14 into 15, depending on where you're looking in your life, you'll notice that at those times as well, you may have had an increase in your consciousness. I know for me personally, that's when my abilities were coming on. So I just wanted to point that out for people, so that if you think back in your own life to those time frames, you might remember that maybe your abilities were coming on, you went through some heightened physical issues. I was actually hospitalized. I thought I was having a heart attack back then, and I didn't realize it was probably the solar flares or the Schumann resonance. I wouldn't know which one it was now, but we've been affected since then. So we're in the end of an 11 or 12-year cycle, and 2024 is going to be very, very active, very active. A lot of people back in 2020, we would hear this term dark to light, right? And I think there was a lot of hopium. That's what I like to call it. There was a lot of hopium that things would really change quickly, and there was a lot of letdown. Well, 2024 is the year where things are going to really begin going from dark into light. And the solar flares do that. I think what's really important about the solar flares is that when we think about them, think about turning the lights on in a house that's been abandoned for like a really long time. It's bringing in knowledge. You're able to now see and have the knowledge of what's in that house. So as these solar flares come in, they're enlightening all of us. They're going to enlighten us to our inner shadows that we need to face physically, mentally, emotionally. And we're going to have the lights turned on collectively. So we're going to see, like we're already seeing this big thing in Miami, the government's trying to get ahead of it. So we're going to see all of these things from the shadows start to step out from the shadows. Not to say that those beings are, but that's just an example of how the government is aware that this is the year where they can't hide anymore. This is the year that things are going to be really magnified, because as our consciousness expands, people are going to question more. And that's what these solar flares are going to do. I think that's the coolest part, right? Is that they do all these physical processes to our body for the sole purpose of consciousness expansion so that we can better integrate our higher selves and soul. So, and I
Yeah.
could keep going on, but I'll stop to see if you have any questions on that first.
No, I'm just soaking in all of your wisdom. I
All
think
right.
it's great. Yeah,
Thanks.
I think it's such a hot topic right now because it's been so intense. And for everybody, all of the symptoms have been different. Like normally for me, it will be like a severe fatigue, definite anxiety. I get really bad head pressure to where it feels like my head's gonna pop, or like a sinus infection, and it only happens when we're having these flares and when the Schumann resonance at this, like both things.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed this last weekend, which is not a norm for me, and it's happening to my cousin today too, is insane amounts of emotion, like tears. And it won't stop. I mean, it went on for 48 hours for me. I couldn't even talk. It just constantly crying. And then, you know, it's almost like you have to find things to help make you cry more, because the point is that it's moving the energy. And so it's like you're like, wow, how am I still dealing with this? And it could be that you're really not dealing with it, it's just helping assist you move the energy out. And that's why it's more when we talk about collective, like when we say, oh, it's from the collective, it's not anything that's personal. That's because it's an energy that's moving through you, and the only way for your human to make sense of it and to help allow it out is by tying it to some type of story that you have that will help assist you to move the energy. And so
Yeah.
that's what I've been going through. And then my cousin today said, you know, same thing. She's just been crying all day, and she's like, I miss grandpa and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I had that too. And I said, and you probably do miss him, but it's assisting you to help move this energy out. And not just
Exactly.
that, but maybe you feel like you miss him because the energy is heightened and you need to tap into talking to him.
Yeah.
Like just tap into it, because right now's the time. There's all of this coming through. Use it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I love that. That's so true. Yeah. Yeah, these energies, that's exactly what they do, is they'll bring to the surface whatever we need to let go of more, or whatever we can connect with, and they'll heighten them. But then also it sounds like you and your cousin and a girlfriend of mine who lives in well, I'll just say she lives in the town where the president is at today. And you guys are probably, and in fact, I'm sure you are all very empathic. And so you're picking up on the energy of the collective. So not only are you letting go of any of those last frequencies that are trapped within your vessel, but it's coming through with the collective energies coming through you, because there's so many people out there that can't process their emotions. And then that's why we have this collective shadow. So that's a lot of why the light workers, the light warriors, I would say that's more of a light warrior trait, where you are here to help, purge those negative, those not negative, but those lower frequencies for other people. And it can be very stressful. And I think that, a lot of people, and I know this was me years ago, this was part of why I went down all these rabbit holes too, because I felt like I was losing my mind years ago during some of it. And what happens is, if we already have a little bit of anxiety or depression or personal life stuff going on, it will feel like it's so much more magnified, just like you said, and it can make it so much, so much worse. I know personally what I like to do sometimes on days like that is put on a tearjerker movie, so it gets me thinking about somebody else's problems instead of my own problems. And then the tears will flow, but I'm not consumed with something that happened to me 15 years ago. You know
Right.
what I mean? Yeah. And that works for me. I always use movies to help me process emotions that aren't mine. So that's my go-to. But I can tell you, last night for me, I had a lot of like old anxiety coming back up because I'm still healing with some physical stuff myself from my own, ascension journey. And so last night I had these physical symptoms coming up in my neck, which were leaving me with lots of anxiety. So we're all processing something, and it's scary, and it's normal. And that's what the Schumann resonance does specifically, because it trips up our brain waves. So we start to, and we're looking, like you said, we're looking for something within us to gravitate towards, like where is this coming from? So yeah,
Yeah,
not enjoyable.
absolutely. And you brought
Not enjoyable.
up your neck and stuff. I've been having this intense neck pain for 3 days. Like even right now, it feels like it's on fire. Like my whole back muscle, it feels like it's on fire and it hasn't stopped. I'm just bringing that up for anybody that's listening, that it's so intense that it's literal physical things, like not just our nervous system, our emotions. I know you have a girl that commented on your post, and she's on here right now talking about how her finger locked and she had to go to the chiropractor because she's having these physical symptoms, and there's strange physical symptoms that we are going to be dealing with. I feel like
Yep.
this is, I feel like it is more intense, like the physical, the emotion, just the stuff I've seen. I'm like, this is strange. It's hitting us at all angles is what it
Yeah.
feels like normally it's like one angle and I can deal with it, but it's just all of these different angles and we're like, wow, it's exhausting.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And, the thoracic spine and the neck, and especially the throat chakra, are key. And this would also lead to the finger, the trigger finger, and other issues in the body, because what happens is, as our kundalini, as our energy is raising up through our body, which is essentially what's happening with all of these incoming energies, our cells are, think of your cells as expanding, like dying and expanding, dying and expanding. They're going through a regeneration process. And as they do that, these frequencies are leaving your body. And I don't know if anybody has ever herxed before. Have you heard of the term herxing?
I haven't.
The Herxheimer effect. So the Herxheimer effect is, and you can look this up. This is a doctor. His name was, I forget his first name, something Herxheimer. Everybody just calls it herxing within the detox community. But you can Google it for more reference on it. But what happens is, when the body is trying to heal itself of basically anything, it's having to get rid of so much. So we go through an inflammation process, and then the cells will begin to die off. And then the lymphatic system can also get clogged up. But to stick with the bone issues and the neck issues first, it's important to realize that our bones are actually made of crystals. Our bones are where we hold the deepest ancestral trauma. It's hydroxyapatite and all sorts of other finite crystals that make up our bones. And this is all easily findable right online. But what happens, and so that's our memory. That's our ancestral memory. So that's why when people are like, my bones ache when I think about, the pain of my family or something, or when I'm doing ancestral release work for people, they go through deep physical pain, because as these frequencies leave the bones can actually shift. That's what happened to me last year. It was my C3, C4, C5 in my neck. Literally, I woke up one morning and they were just completely dislodged. And this was after doing a heart chakra release, because right now we're having the high heart chakra more activated than any other, especially light workers, light warriors. So as these more frequencies are coming into this area to activate you as a channel, to activate your heart, to really channel the love of the divine into this reality, the bones, anything in this part of your body that's holding on to any type of lower frequencies, is going to have to come out. And as it does that, the body's going to go through a regeneration phase. And as it goes through that regeneration phase, things will shift and move. And it's extremely painful with our bones. Like for me, for example, I knew what it was. This was last spring. This was the spring equinox. It was good times. And I knew what it was, so I didn't go to the doctor. Luckily, I had a friend who could take care of me. I literally spent about 6 weeks on my floor laying in one position so that my spine could realign itself. And I spent most of that time in the astral plane because it was all familial, from family karma that I had to let go of and face. And it was a lot. So, but every time I would let go of something, every time I would do a soul retrieval for my mother or my uncle, they're all passed away, but you can still go back in these timelines and do soul retrievals for the aspects of where they were fragmented. So every time I would do this for them, I would come out of the astral and my bones would be a little bit more back in place and I'd be able to move a little bit more. So it can be very, very scary. And as that happens, so the nerves are, our nerves come out of our spine, right? So think of this as your spine, and your nerves come out in between each vertebra, right? So if you have your vertebra or any type of inflammation going in here, and you have an impingement or a pinch on this one little nerve, whatever that nerve goes to, could be a finger. I've been having an eye twitch for a week, driving me nuts. Could be an eye, could be the lungs, could be a stomach situation, whatever. Those nerves are going to be affected. And so that's going to cause the physical abnormalities that the doctors have no offer for because it's really out of their league at this point.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. And it really is. There is no explanation, and the only thing that they're gonna do is just give you stuff for the symptoms. That's all that they can do. And
Yeah,
that's why it's so good for us to have these talks and these lives, and for people like you to be on Instagram and talking about these things, posting videos to bring awareness to the fact that it's not what we think that it is. And
right.
especially as light warriors, because if you're here watching this, you know that you are literally physically holding more light in your body. And so
Yeah,
you are going to be experiencing like what you experience on a higher level.
yep,
So we can't always think, oh, it's just, I need to go to the hospital or something. It's like, what am I doing for the collective? What am I doing with my physical body and my astral and my etheric and all of these different energy bodies at
yeah,
once with this?
yeah. It's a lot.
A
It's a
lot.
lot. And I think that, some people ask what's the difference between a light worker and a light warrior. And a light worker carries the light, and they usually have I don't want to say they have an easier time, but they do have a little less. They're the people that are smiling, happy all the time, and they're still amazing and they're beautiful souls. But a light warrior, you're a light warrior if you're really in it, if you have really had to do a lot of work to get to the other side of stuff. And a light warrior has a different role because, like you said, to carry that light in this reality that is full of darkness, that is full. I mean, a light warrior would have had to deal with probably more sexual trauma as a child, more abuse as a child, more problems in their lifetime. So a light warrior would have had to really gone through it and would have likely been born into a family line with lots of ancestral trauma, in which case they would have had to clear it. And just to hold that light, like I feel like as humans, we watch these movies and we think that in order to be a warrior, you have to be out battling somebody on a field and in front of a podium, saying all these amazing things. But the light warriors need to realize that just being who you are and healing yourself is enough. And I think that's like one of the most important things that I always try to stress to people is don't discount the value of healing your mind, healing your body, healing your energy fields, and just carrying your light through this world and whatever it is you're doing, because your frequency alone is shifting this entire collective. That's why we're scattered everywhere. I know most of my sisters and my closest girlfriends live thousands of miles away, and we only ever get to talk on Zoom, but we all know that's where we're supposed to be. And so if anybody's listening to this and you're a light warrior, then just please know that you are doing the hardest work out there just by being exactly who you are and carrying that light forth, because it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's absolutely not easy. And it's been this like, I feel like it's been this slow integrative process over years. Like we didn't even realize that that's what it was when it was starting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're like so in it. It's just hard to believe. And I was thinking, well, it was coming through just this year. It is the 8th of January. And we already have these huge spikes coming through. All this stuff coming out, all this drama stuff that's coming out, right? That need to be seen, the Epstein stuff, all the stuff that we've been waiting for. It's all been coming out. And that literally came out 3 days ago. And these flares and flashes and everything have been off the charts with it.
Yeah.
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 It's been wild.
And there's a reason that's because that's exactly what the light is doing, and the light that comes from the sun is God's source energy. That's the creation energy. So this is all the stuff that I get when I'm shown these visions. That's God saying no more, literally sending in these energies to say dark to light, dark to light. We're going to keep shining the light on all of this, so all of it's going to be continually magnified, and this entire year is going to be like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big year.
I was getting a lot of feeling, like we're going to be feeling a lot. And I didn't understand really what that meant when I received it until this last weekend, where I'm just feeling. So it's like, no, you know, somebody doesn't have to pass away in your family, right? For you to be feeling. That's not what I mean by, like, I don't mean suffering. I mean feeling. It could be feeling love, pain, all of it, you know, just from the lowest consciousness all the way to the highest, because
Yep.
we are clearing things out and moving them out. And then on top of moving and clearing all those things out, so all this light energy is coming in. You're moving and clearing and feeling all these things coming out. But at the same time, simultaneously, you're feeling immense amounts of love, gratitude, peace, joy. And it's interesting how when you are in a state of gratitude, you're crying. When you're in true gratitude, you are crying. Like, it gives me chills because it's just
Yep.
so grateful. And it feels like pain, but it's expressed by the human as if it's pain, but it's not. It's just this emotional energy of just this juicy love that we're feeling. And
Yep.
I've experienced that this last year. And it makes you want to drop to your knees. And that's the type of feeling that I mean by a year of feeling. We're going to be seeing a lot of things, feeling a lot of things, um, feeling a lot of things that we probably needed to feel, collectively feel, the gratitude, the all of it. And not just that, but there are a lot of people that are choosing to leave this experience while this is happening. So there is going to be a lot of grief and stuff that's going on. It's happening in my world right now. So we just have to remember to love unconditionally, unattached. And that's why I keep putting this stuff out, because I'm trying, not me, the messages are trying to prepare us for this shift. And it's
Yes.
happening right now.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. There's going to be, and I have that up here. There's going to be a lot of losses this
Right.
year, and there's a couple ways we can look at this, and I feel like this is really important to touch on for everybody. And I just wanted to call that. I love that you said the gratitude and tears. I get like that. Some days I'll wake up and I'll have an entire day of just I'm just so thankful for every little thing. I look at a pen and I'm so grateful for it that I'm crying, and I'm like, this world is amazing. And that's when you know you're really in that enlightened phase, right?
Right.
And then the next day you're like right down in the gutter again, and it's like,
Yeah.
what the heck? I
I
call it the
hate it
pendulum
here.
effect. Yeah, right. I call it the pendulum effect. It's like we're reaching this 0 point. It's like when a figure eight starts to flatten out, and the goal is to reach that 0 point so that we're in this place of constant gratitude, but also um, awareness of our true reality without looking past the darkness or the light. Like everything just is as it is, but with a
Right.
perpetual state of gratitude, which I love. So but it's amazing. But yeah, this year there's going to be a lot of loss. There really is, and I don't say that lightly. I say that with with knowing. I mean, I can see into the astral, so it's a little bit different for those of us who can connect. But eventually, we all will be able to. And this year, one of the things that came through for me, which I have written up here, Earth landscape changes, and that's going to bring life loss, as well as the people who had this, or have just not been taking care of their vessels well enough. And then also, I think it's important to recognize that that's the soul's choice. A soul ultimately determines when they've had enough and when they want to leave, right? I mean, we don't really have that much control. I mean, we do to some degree of when we're going to die organically, but when a soul decides that it's enough, then it will literally pull its consciousness out of this realm. And with that said, I think it's also important to realize that there are very this has been shown to me, and this helps me a lot when we see these huge catastrophes where there's lots of life loss, whether it be animal or human, war or natural. What was shown to me, because that was affecting me a lot, where I couldn't get out of bed. So my soul team, my higher self, pulled me into the astral, and they showed me how what it is it's oftentimes it's usually times very high level angelic souls, very high consciousness level souls that are close to source, that came in for these experiences. So and their purpose is to basically share their energy in this world, and then through their death create the compassion needed for the rest of humanity moving forward. And they know that they're signing up for this, is what I'm trying to say. And it makes it harder for us because we have to live with the loss of them and we have to witness it. But what I'm trying to say is, as they go through this, their processes, their death, whether it be, the animals that we see, because we will see lots of earth landscape changes, which will affect nature. We will see more war. We will see more earthquakes and tsunamis and such this year, volcanoes and that type of activity, which will create huge catastrophes. I don't know how much life will be lost, but there will be life lost. Most of those beings, most of those humans are incarnated with souls that chose that as a mission. So now I'm not saying we can't grieve them. I'm not saying we shouldn't feel sad. We need to process how we process. But if we can have a little bit of a different perspective shift and recognize that they're basically the heroes, they're probably the angels who are teaching us in a classroom upstairs before we come in here, who sign up for those darker, harder physical missions. And they don't spend that as much time here, and they leave before we do, because to be in this realm for too long is difficult for them, but that's how they can share their frequency with this realm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It does
because
for
I
me.
have a really hard time with that. What's
I said
that?
it makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything,
And
especially in the higher angelic energies, they come mission purposeful. So
yes,
yes, like it gives me chills.
yeah. Yeah, and just so the way this was shown to me was, I became obsessed last summer when I learned about the horses, the rounding up of the wild horses in the Midwest of America. Just, I don't know why, but this brought me to my knees. I've always been connected to the horse spirits. And what was shown to me, and I think this is really interesting for animals, what was shown to me is that there's one consciousness being, so one very high level being, that splits its consciousness into like 10 horses or into an entire herd of horses for the sole purpose of restoring compassion to humanity. Because the way it works is, every time we see something like that happen, so say 10 humans witness one of those awful events where the dark ones attack those types of beings, or whether there's a war situation, the humans who witness it are going to go out and make the changes needed. So it's to restore the compassion to the people unlike us. Like, we were able to wake up through, that's how we woke up. We came here for the purpose of waking up. But for somebody who is still, scrolling through their TV channels, or going to a hockey game, or going out for beers every Friday night, what they're going to need is something like a smack in the face. And that's what those high consciousness level beings are doing through these animals, through the war, through the catastrophes. They're going to need something so big that it's going to shock them into the reality of what's actually happening on this planet. So the purpose of that is to really wake up the compassion in those types of people. And the reason this was shown to me is, my soul team was like, you have to get up, you have to get out of bed, because I couldn't get out of bed for a while this summer. I was just so depressed with everything that was happening. And they were like, you have to get up, you have to keep going. This is happening for their purposes of viewing, not for yours.
Mm.
So I guess I'm sharing this to say, as light warriors, workers and warriors who I know are in starseeds who are probably watching this, it's important that we remember to stay on mission. That type of stuff is happening for those people who need to see such pain and such atrocities. So don't get so hooked up into it that your consciousness is hijacked by the dark. Focus on what it is you came to do, so that the people who need to have their compassion restored can have their compassion restored. And when they do, they have a place to turn to for help. Because the more we're able to heal ourselves and get our healing businesses online, whether it be energy work or physical work or whatever it is for you, then the more there's going to be a system in place for these people who are just waking up to the truth in this reality to turn to for help. That makes deeper sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really well put. Have you received anything about with these flares and the way we're feeling? Are we just going to spend a whole nother year with more intensity, not able to move, not able to function? Have you received anything about this, or are we getting prepared to be freed?
What I keep seeing is that those of us who have already been on the path we're going to go through another, I would say, month or two phase of acclimation, and I'll talk about how we can, because I have some ways we can manage that. But then this is also for people who are just beginning to wake up. So we have about another 6 to 8 weeks of more physical activations where we'll be able to be more comfortable with this. But for the people who are just waking up, I guess you could say, like the people who are where we were a year or two ago are going to really go through it. And so as we get our systems in place and as we get more acclimated, we'll be able to help them. Because it's kind of like, what's shown to me is it's kind of like a relay race, right? Where you say for me, a couple of years ago, I had to learn how to heal myself, and there were people who helped me, and they passed me the baton, and now I'm passing it to the baton to people behind me, and they're going to pass it to them. So it depends on where you are in your baton passing, if that makes any sense. So it really depends on who's listening, where they are. But if you're really going through it right now, then chances are you're going to start to feel better by February into March. You're going to become more acclimated. For people who are just starting to, like, I get messages from people who say, "You're crazy, lady. What are you talking about? I don't feel anything." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Get back to me in a year or two." You know, because what happens is their physical vessel is so dense, literally, like the subatomic particles can't get into their energy field. So it's going to take longer for them, because it's kind of like they have on too much sunblock. And I'm not meaning to bring up sunblock because of the flares, but that's a good way to put it. But when we have too much sunblock on, which is the density in our consciousness field, then the solar flares, the subatomic particles, can't really get into our physical structure to make the changes needed to make. So those of us that are here, we're pretty much down to like 5 SPF, if you know what I'm saying. Like we're really getting down there. So we're really taking on the solar flares.
Wow, that's great. I love that. So I want to ask more questions, but I also want you to be able to get to what it is that you want to get to.
Okay.
Well,
yeah. So let me just, can you see this board okay? I don't know if you can see my messy writing.
Yeah, but it's flipped anyways. It's backwards anyways because of the way. So just as you're explaining it, you know.
Right. So basically, I wanted to try to just differentiate a little bit of the flares and the Schumann resonance, because I do find that there's a little bit of a difference in how they affect us, and then share what happens with both. And kind of share, because I asked my guides today, I'm like, is there a pattern here? Because what's happening? So what I was shown is that, you know, we get these intense flares, and it's the energy coming from the sun, and then the earth takes it on. And as the earth takes it on, her heartbeat picks up. It takes a few days of integration, and then her heartbeat will pick up, and then she blasts out a higher resonance of the field. And as she blasts out a higher resonance, then the solar flares will come in and she'll blast out more of a higher resonance. So we will go through cyclical patterns where we'll have, you know, I don't know how long the solar flare activity will be exactly. That there is a great page on here, Jason Quantum I can't remember his name, but I'll shoot you his name after to tag him below, because he shows how the rotation of the sun. He does great work showing the rotation of the sun so that you can actually expect when they're coming. And when the solar flares are coming in, it also determines on the positioning of the Earth and everything. But when the solar flares are coming in, that's when we can expect to feel more, we're going to get more, we'll feel more like a live wire, like that feeling, right? Or exhausted. Again, that depends on where somebody is. If you're kind of in a newer phase of this, you're going to feel more exhausted, or like in the middle phase. As you start to get to the point where your body is acclimated to taking on this stuff, then it's where you can't sleep and you feel like a live wire, and you just want to go run 20 laps around a track and you can't stop. And that's because what happens is the ATP is activated. So a lot of us are familiar with when we go to the gym and we're working out and we hear the term ATP. Quite literally, our mitochondria is picking up. The energies of our mitochondria is picking up. So that's why cellular support is so, so important to get us through all of that. And that's when the solar flares are coming in. When the Schumann resonance is coming in, it's more of a lack of focus, or hyper focus. Like for me, today it's like I'm so hyper focused that I can only focus on one thing at a time, or anxiety or depression. And it's because the brainwave patterns are dysregulated, because our brainwave is connected right to Mother Gaia's heartbeat. So as her heartbeat shifts, so do our brainwaves. So those are kind of the differences in them. But then both of them will lead to insomnia, needing more sleep. They both lead to consciousness expansion, and they both require similar support. So that's kind of the difference between the two. So you can kind of start to recognize, and I always say to people, journal, write down, notice how you felt this solar flare, and then write down how you felt in the Schumann resonance and see if it's changing, because you can start to mark your progress a little bit and help yourself to evolve even better to see how you're feeling. So those are the differences. And then I'm just going to pull this over here so I can see it better. For what we can do to support, there's so many things we can do to support our body in this, and I think that's what people really need to know. Grounding, grounding is key. When we are outside, we're getting electrons from Mother Gaia, and electrons help to stabilize our atomic structure, because what happens, especially when we're getting the solar flare activity, is our atoms are being charged. So the protons in the center of our atomic structure is being charged. And when we can take on more electrons, that's going to balance out that charge so that we can feel more stable. So it's really important to get your feet on Mother Gaia, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. And if you can't get outside, if you're in the absolute cold and you can't get outside, then I would suggest getting a grounding mat. And I know some people are like, well, the EMFs, well, sometimes you got to pick your poison. I'm not saying to sit on a grounding mat all the time, but if you can sit on a grounding mat for 15 minutes or a half an hour a day and get the electron transfer into your physical vessel, you're going to start to feel better, because it literally shifts you right away. I know today I was feeling high as a kite, and I went to the park and I took my shoes off and I just sat there for 15 minutes. I immediately just felt my body just completely calm down. And breath work. And there's specific types of breath work that I would recommend. One of them being resonant breath work, which is what some people call it like box breathing, where you want to have 5 seconds in, kind of hold at the top, 5 seconds out. So by the time you're done, you have basically a cycle of 6 breaths in a minute. That's going to help you regulate back to the heartbeat of Mother Gaia, what she really is. That's how we're supposed to breathe with the Schumann resonance. So that's really helpful. And then also breathing to release neuropeptides. And that's more where you inhale through your nose and you exhale really hard out of your mouth, like, and you would do that for like 30 consecutive breaths. A lot more intense than that, but it's a little, talking as well. What happens is our brain actually creates neuropeptides, and that's what sends messages to our body to create emotions. So we have stuck neuropeptides in our body. So every time we're doing those deep exhales like that, and we're really blowing out the air, we're letting those neuropeptides out of our body. So that's going to help the emotional process. So if you're feeling like super anxious or depressed or sad or anything like that, doing a neuropeptide release type breath work is going to really help. And if you're just feeling kind of like dysregulated, then you want to do more of the box type breathing, the resonant breath. Hydrate. Most of us know hydrate. Make sure you're adding Celtic salt or pink Himalayan salt. I even like sea salt sometimes. Or, of course, there's the Kangen or the structured water options. Those are all great. But hydration is key. I would say drink enough, drink so much water that you can't tolerate it anymore. I mean, it's really that simple. You just have to drink a lot of water and make sure your body's absorbing it. Like, make sure you're eating the right foods and such to help your body absorb it. Nutrition needs can change, and I think this surprises people because I know personally I used to be a vegan, and in the last 6 months or so I needed to start eating meat because our bodies are regenerating themselves and the body needs more protein in order to do that. So pay attention to what your body actually wants. If you start having cravings that don't make sense, then look into what's in that food and identify what vitamin deficiencies you might be having that your body might need for the upgrades that it's currently going through. Humming, it sounds strange, but when this would be like the woman who had the trigger finger, or if somebody's having a really dysregulated nervous system, humming, just humming, because when you're humming, your vagus nerve relaxes. So if you're really having lots of anxiety or feeling even sad or anything like that, just start humming. Or physical discomfort, stomach aches. When I'm having a stomach ache, I always hum. It helps the vagus nerve to stimulate the stomach. So humming is great. Shadow work. We have to do our shadow work. Whatever's coming up for us, you have to look at it, and I know a lot of people are like, well, I want to manifest all this wonderful stuff, so I don't want to think about the bad things in my life. Well, the truth is, if you manifest wonderful stuff and you haven't done the shadow work, then you're going to lose whatever you manifested in the first place. So you got to do the shadow work. So face whatever's coming up for you, journal it out, see an energy healer, energy clearer, whatever works for you, but make sure you get it out of your body. Meditation is key to get the brain waves working properly. Healthy fats. I think a lot of people underestimate the need of healthy fats, especially right now. Fats are what support our brain and our nervous system. They lubricate the nervous system and support the brain. So we really, really want to be getting in enough healthy fats, fish, nuts. I'm trying to think of, my brain is a little, my brain could use some healthy fats right now. But look into healthy fats, just Google it. You'll find plenty of healthy fats that you can eat. And that's going to help you to feel better because the healthy fats really help to support all of the changes going on in our body. And also watching the sun rise and the sunset as much as possible while eating healthy fats. And the reason why is because there's a nucleus behind the eye that actually sets the circadian rhythm of the entire body. When we can activate that nucleus behind the eye that starts to really stimulate our body to work with the sun, our body's going to be better regulated. So it's super helpful, and it's going to help you to release cholesterol, heal your overall body, heal your endocrine system. It's going to help you age backwards. I mean, there's tons of studies on this. If anybody who wants to do a deeper dive into this, I would look into the work of Dr. Jack Kruse. That's Kruse. His work is phenomenal. He's difficult to find because, of course, the government doesn't want his information out there. But he's a neuroscientist, neurosurgeon who has done so much age reversal using these types of medicines, simply increasing your healthy fats, taking the cold baths, and watching the sunrise and the sunset, actually watching the sun come up. And then when you see the sun, kind of look to the side and watching the sun go down because those frequencies affect our brain. Magnesium glycinate, as opposed to the other magnesiums, is the magnesium you want to be taking. And ATP support. And this is, you can Google this one as well. ATP, that is what's in our mitochondria. We have to be really supporting it. And that's a lot of B vitamin, selenium, manganese, C vitamins, quercetin. but you'll find there's all sorts of different multivitamins, and they'll literally be like Mitocore or ATP support. If you just Google ATP support, you'll find all sorts of different brands. Read the reviews, obviously, and look on the back of the bottle to see how much they have in them. You want to make sure there's lots of Bs, riboflavin, thiamine, selenium, like I said, vitamin C. All of those are going to really help to support your ATP production process, which is going to support your cells. Less stimulation, obviously, so not so much scrolling, which is hard because all of us want answers,
Yeah.
but, try to,
Mhm.
have less stimulation of the brain. Lymph detox. I think, and this is why, if you notice, there's a lot of light workers, light warriors, who are, it's all over the internet with people with the lymph massages, right? Those are really, really important. So don't underestimate the importance of those, because as we are letting go of these old energies, these old shadows of how we were, our body, our cells, our old cells die off and our body creates new cells. And as our body is regenerating itself, those cells have to go somewhere. All the toxins in those cells have to go somewhere. So if our lymph channels aren't open, we can get sick. That's what leads to the mucus, right? Because we're getting a lot of third eye activations. So the glymph, which would be up in the brain, if it's a little bit backed up, then we can get some mucus production because the bodies can't get the toxins out of it. So look up how to massage your lymph, keep the lymph moving. Qigong slaps are great for that. Ecstatic dance, if anybody just likes to just put on music and dance, do all that kind of fun stuff. Just move your body. You really, really need to move your body. Working out is really important. Again, for our muscles and our bones have a piezoelectric. They basically create electricity. So the more we can move our body, then the more we're keeping the electricity moving in our body. Somatic release, which a lot of people are pretty much familiar with. So, but look up somatic release and find someone that you like to do that with, or just Google it. And what was the last one? Oh, calming music. I know personally, especially when we go through the Schumann resonance upgrades, I like to listen to like Bach, Mozart, classical music, stuff like that, because that type of music calms the brain. And I know a lot of people are into the Hertz frequencies and stuff on YouTube, and that's great. But the truth is, we don't usually know who made them. So try to find a musician or somebody like on Spotify who the source of the music, or even if it's live, like handpan music, something like that, some type of music that really calms the brain, that's not generated by a computer, because we don't know the true frequency that's underneath that. And a lot of us are aware that the frequencies can really affect our thinking. So
Wow. I feel
I'm sorry, that was a
I
lot.
feel honored, Krystina. I do. I feel like I just got like a whole college session of things that
Oh,
I didn't know. And you did it so well. It was really, really good. So I
thank
really
you.
appreciate you for laying it out so well, like you just did.
Oh, thank you. I
I think
feel
it's
like I talked too
very
fast.
helpful. No, it's great. I love it. And I love that I can have you come onto my platform and bring this type of information to people. It's absolutely amazing. And I know
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. And I know everyone here does too, because I feel like I got answers about things and like, like resonate with the messages that you're getting about this year and the energy and what's going on with us, and then the wisdom behind what will help us through it. And also what you said about, the 6 to 8 weeks. To me, that makes sense. I feel like we still are integrating things, but I do feel like we have done so much work, like the first wave of volunteer people, like we have done so much work. We didn't come here to just be ran into the ground. We will be rewarded. We are just currently in the work, and it gets
yeah,
really, really frustrating because we're tired and people feel, and this is why I posted this, and we have to end soon, but I did post about the true meaning of success, because anybody that is a first waver that's very intense, and just a light warrior, light worker, starseed in general, we have to recognize that what is successful in this world is not what is successful to our journey at
yeah.
all.
Yes, you're so right on that. But this world is made up.
Right.
this world is completely made up, and we're going to watch the disintegration of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. And I really appreciate you. I would like to do this again sometime
yeah,
because it's enough. It's the type of information that needs to be repeated and remembered because
yeah,
we're gonna forget the things that we need to do, and that there's other people that are also going through this to this extent. So yes, I would love to do this again. And
absolutely. Yeah, this is fun.
yeah, you did great.
Thanks.
Yeah, you
I
did.
was like, I wanted the way my, I know we all have abilities. Well, most of us here probably here have abilities. And when I look at a camera, it's like my brain goes splat. So that's why I wrote everything down. So,
Well, I appreciate it because you brought a lot of education. And we probably have, I would say, 5 minutes before I have to turn the live off. Otherwise, we'll lose the whole thing. But you guys
okay,
can they can watch the replay. It'll be on both of our accounts. I also download these and put them on my YouTube. So it'll be a YouTube version, which I then share to Facebook. So if anybody has a Facebook and wants to share this information with anybody, you can share it through the YouTube. The link is in my bio to get to my YouTube. You'll see it. It'll be there tonight on YouTube. But just go to my YouTube on my link and you'll see this replay if you want to share it.
awesome.
So
Yeah,
I can send that to you as well. And I
yeah, I
appreciate
started the YouTube.
everybody. It's been wonderful. Everyone's been so engaged. I know everyone was actually really excited about this topic because it's been so in our face. Yes, the last while, but the last few days, it's been really wow. Like new
Yeah,
stuff. I'm like, wow, I've been crying for 48 hours. I'm not a crier. Like something
yeah,
really has to push it out of me to actually cry things out. So it's been
yeah,
intense. Yes.
yeah. And, I think that we can leave everybody on a positive note to just say that the reason why we go through these terrible, awful cycles where we all feel like a little bit of a crazy person is because on the other side of it, our consciousness is always going to be more expanded. So that's how you get your abilities. So lots of crying, you're probably going to have more empathic abilities, more seeing abilities, more of your channeling abilities come through. So whatever you guys are going through out there, just know that on the other side of it, you're going to be even more expanded and your abilities are going to be coming more online and you're going to have more in touch with your higher self, which is awesome. So there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. And if you want to, before we close out, just explain where they can find you, what you do, probably get about 2 minutes worth of that.
Okay, so I'm the Quantum Healing Coach at Instagram, and I did just start a YouTube channel, which I don't have anything on yet, but it's also the Quantum Healing Coach. Um, and you can reach out to me, the Quantum Healing Coach at gmail.com. And I have a link in my bio on my Instagram page. I do offer sessions. What I do is clear shadows, help people face deep traumas, as well as recognize patterns in their life that are caused by the traumas, because a lot of times we're repeating stuff from past lives and ancestral traumas that we don't realize, and we need somebody to put two and two together. And then I put together a healing coaching plan, creating everything we went over that's a personalized plan through somebody's soul. So I actually connect with a person's soul and it comes right through their soul, whatever it is that they need. So it's all personalized based on what your soul says that you need personally.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's exciting. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I met you.
You too. I've been following you for years. I love your content. You helped me in 2020, 2021 so much. You have no idea, girl.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This is
Yeah,
great. I feel the love. It's the year of feeling. Don't make me cry.
absolutely. Go
Well,
put on a sappy
yeah,
movie.
I know. I just listened to what did I listen to the other day? It was my man was like, "Oh, this is such a girl song." But it was the girl that sings One Hand in My Pocket. Who's that?
Alanis
I
Morissette.
was Alanis. Because I was just going way back. I'm like, let's listen to Alanis
Yeah.
and just cry this out for 2 days. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. But thank you
Yep.
everybody for being on, and thank you for being on. I'm gonna close it out and
Thank
repost
you.
this so you guys can watch the
Awesome.
replay.
Thank you, Carlie.
Thank you. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
everybody. Bye.